I think it's fair to say that no one can stand the star of this movie.
And that really illustrates why she's facing such widespread rejection at the moment.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
This is truly, like, she has to go. I'm sorry, Disney. She has to go. The reason we had Rachel Zegler on the docket is she's an asshole.
I'm a narcissist.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged. I truly do believe that.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
This is someone who is as entitled as, I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it. You didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White. Right. You should shut up and do the job.
I know this point has been made, but this truly is the worst casting maybe in the history of the film industry.
I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats.
There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion. But the reality is she's just not stable, like the majority of people in Hollywood. They're just not stable human beings. I would highly advise that you boycott this film, no matter how much your children love Snow White.
Man. Hello, Disney. You're going to have to redo your film again because this woman is a pig and you fired Gina Carano for far less than this nonsense.
Neither of them make any sense for their roles. We've already covered how Rachel Zegler is a terrible choice for Snow White. Nothing about her says Snow White, and that's even leaving aside the fact that she openly detests the story, as she's said many times during this disastrous PR campaign. But Gal Gadot, who plays the Queen, the first problem is that she's the evil queen. The evil queen is supposed to be envious of Snow White's beauty, and that is just not believable. It is just not, even in a movie with magical mirrors and dwarves and all that, in a fairy tale, that strains my ability to suspend disbelief. I cannot buy that Gal Gadot is angry that she's not as beautiful as Rachel Zegler. I cannot buy that.
Doom is a love story just because, we cast a guy in the movie, right. Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Now, for Disney, as you probably remember, all of this publicity, the Zegler interviews, the Daily Mail leak, caused a lot of unexpected, for them anyway, pre-production problems. People weren't supposed to see and understand just how unwatchable the new Snow White was going to be. It was supposed to be, kind of a surprise, but now there was no hiding it.
Controversy has swirled around Gal Gadot's new movie, also starring Rachel Zegler as Snow White. A lot of people don't like her. A lot of people don't like her either. She's got a big mouth. She talked trash about the original movie.
I'm gonna stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess. I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
Disney Plus delivered a statement without uttering a word. Snow White vanished from its upcoming lineup. No trailer, no teaser, no premiere date, just silence. For a flagship live-action release, that kind of quiet backstep is almost unheard of.
Title, this kind of retreat is almost unheard of.
Rachel Zegler just keeps making things worse with the Walt Disney Company. The more that she tries to defend this movie, the more that she tries to spew her agenda onto the general public, it's only making matters worse. Not just for Bob Iger, but for whatever is left of the image of Disney as a whole.
After the poor reception both online and in theaters, executives reportedly chose to cut their losses and steer clear of reigniting the backlash.
Is having its own problems. They're finally releasing the latest adaptation of Snow White, but they're scaling back the Hollywood premiere of the film. Kinsey, why is that?
Because Rachel Zegler is a
According to industry
PR
whispers,
night.
they feared mass subscription cancellations and a repeat of the meme storm that engulfed the theatrical release. So, they retreated into silence, choosing caution over spectacle.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937. She's going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
This decision reflects more than just a troubled release. It suggests Disney has fully walked away from the project, a downfall that began well before the film hit theaters. Rachel Zegler's press tour, which was intended to build excitement, instead went viral for missteps that fueled months of online mockery.
Oh wow, Snow White flopped. Who is surprised? You cast arguably the least genuine, most out of touch and disliked person in her industry, and her industry is Hollywood. And the bad guy is Gal Gadot.
In one interview, She admitted she had never actually watched the original Snow White, dismissing it as outdated and unsettling. In another, she went further, describing the prince as little more than a
Focus on
stalker.
her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. Super weird. So we didn't do that this time.
For Disney loyalists, her comments didn't come across as bold or refreshing. They felt dismissive. Social media quickly filled with side-by-side clips contrasting the timeless elegance of the original princess with Rachel's offhand remarks. By the time Snow White reached theaters, audiences weren't bringing nostalgia and excitement. They were bringing skepticism. And in some cases, they didn't show up at all. Matters only worsened with the now infamous royalties comment, when, during what was meant to be a playful chat about streaming, Rachel leaned in earnestly and said she should be paid each time someone pressed play.
There are 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess. I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
Parody videos, sarcastic tweets, and criticism from casual viewers flooded in. Many questioned how an actor in a multimillion-dollar Disney film could complain about compensation at all. That soundbite quickly became a symbol of a broader issue: the perception that Rachel came across as entitled, disconnected, and tone-deaf. Making such a claim before the film had even premiered only intensified the backlash, suggesting she cared more about the paycheck than the character. Even her co-star Gal Gadot seemed uneasy. During joint appearances, her cool demeanor was hard to miss, with their Oscars presentation standing out as particularly uncomfortable.
Clearly awkward.
Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot.
Visual effects push the boundaries of what we see on screen.
Their work makes the impossible seem possible.
With breathtaking ambition, they create magic that wraps its arms around our wildest imaginations.
Here are the nominees for Best Visual Effects.
No eye contact. A rigid posture. A smile that flickered out faster than a trailer teaser. On stage, the chill between them was unmistakable. Offstage, insiders whispered that Gal had already withdrawn, keeping Rachel at arm's length and offering only the bare minimum required. To industry eyes, the message was clear. Gal Gadot had no intention of sinking with a ship already taking on water. Her silence roared louder than any press statement. The studio, desperate for synergy, had imagined their two stars radiating power together. Instead, their pairing only magnified the disconnect. And then came the fateful rewrite. Rachel positioned herself as the champion of a new Snow White: no prince, no romance, no dwarfs. She framed it as a bold feminist vision for the modern age. But audiences didn't see empowerment. They saw a fairy tale stripped of its magic.
Snow White gets her name, not from the fairness of her skin, as we obviously know Rachel Zegler would be a miscast in that sense. Instead, she gets her name from surviving a snowstorm.
That audiences walk away from this film with an understanding of the true meaning of fairness, of what it means to be fair in this world. There is a message that's been carried on for almost 90 years now from the original animated classic. That is, fairness is what is within. Fairness is to do with your heart, the way you treat the people around you, and it has nothing to do with what you look like, and that's the misunderstanding between Snow White and the Evil Queen. I think it's such an important message, and the way that Disney has elevated it and brought it to this new audience is very special.
Many saw it as little more than buzzwords slapped onto a classic, stripped of the very heart that made the original endure. Yes, stories evolve, but this version felt like it was trying to prove a point instead of tell one. The magic had vanished, replaced by a lecture. Disney had long mastered the balance between heart and message, but this time they missed. And Rachel became the face of that failure. No edit, no rebrand, could fix it. The backlash wasn't about a film anymore, it was about how its lead mocked the legacy, insulted the audience, and misjudged the cultural weight of the role. Disney rarely cancels a release in this fashion, but in this case, putting Snow White on streaming would have been more damaging than helpful. Rachel Zegler had become the main character in a PR cautionary tale, and Disney knew when to close the book. By the time the movie limped into theaters, the damage was irreparable. Disney's reputation was bruised. Fans were furious. And Rachel was more famous for controversy than performance. Worse still, the true horror wasn't on screen. It was everything that unfolded off it. Snow White didn't just flop, it detonated. A $45 million opening and a humiliating 1.6 IMDb rating. It didn't stumble out of the gate. It face-planted. And no one was surprised. The collapse felt less like a shock and more like a scheduled event. From the moment casting was announced, the writing was etched on the poisoned wall. Fans didn't merely skip the film, they celebrated its failure. Memes dominated feeds. Reaction videos dropped before opening weekend had even closed. Disney had made the first anti-fairytale. And it wasn't clever subversion, it was public rejection. A slow-motion train wreck in a ball gown. Then came the curveball. An AI-generated Rachel Zegler profile appeared on OnlyFans, racking up thousands of followers overnight. It wasn't real, it wasn't verified, but for a moment the internet hesitated. And that hesitation said it all. Rachel's image had reached such a bizarre crossroad of infamy and fascination that people genuinely wondered, is this her pivot now? Her defenders called it a cruel hoax. Critics feasted on it. Either way, the fake account became a symbol, a digital punchline to a real-world PR tragedy. Behind the scenes, Disney was panicking. This wasn't another limp live-action remake, it was a full-scale theatrical disaster. With ticket sales cratering and online discourse running wild, theaters started making a quiet but devastating move, dropping the film from primetime slots. Matinees were reassigned. Evening showings cut. In some places, Snow White was buried so deep in the schedule it was like searching for it with a flashlight. The cinematic equivalent of being uninvited from your own party. And then, as if the storm needed more thunder, an old chapter resurfaced, the forgotten wicked feud. Long before she was crowned Snow White, Rachel had circled the role of Elphaba. According to insiders, she teased it online, dropped vocal clips, and lobbied hard behind the scenes. But producers saw the warning signs. The same traits that would later sour Snow White, impulsive remarks, spotlight-hogging interviews, friction with co-stars, were already visible. So they cut ties quietly, long before real damage could be done. Now Rachel's career hangs not stalled, but suspended, dangling like a broken fairytale spell. Once hailed as the breakout star of West Side Story, she has become Hollywood's newest cautionary tale. It wasn't just that the movie bombed, or that her interviews turned viral for all the wrong reasons, or that Gal Gadot looked like she wanted to vanish every time they shared a stage. It was all of it. A perfect storm of bad timing, worse optics, unchecked ego, and a complete misread of her audience. What makes it surreal is Rachel herself. She doesn't seem to see it. She's still posting, still singing, still talking about the importance of being heard. But the question isn't whether she's speaking, it's whether anyone's still listening. Studios aren't calling. Co-stars aren't defending. Fans aren't showing up. The silence around her career is louder than any tweet she's ever posted. Hollywood isn't cruel, it's calculating. And right now, it's running the numbers on whether Rachel Zegler can ever be trusted to carry another franchise. From Disney darling to digital punchline, her fall wasn't sudden. It was gradual, frame by frame, soundbite by soundbite, until one of Disney's most anticipated reboots became a career obituary. And in the end, the irony is sharp. This story doesn't close with a kiss or a happily ever after. It closes with a warning. That in Hollywood, being the fairest of them all isn't about rewriting the tale, it's about knowing when to stop talking, before the story rewrites you.